Welcome everybody to INNATE Inner-Views. I've got Peter Morgan and Henri here, and we're talking about chiro missions, saving the world, taking care of babies, and literally transforming the lives of millions of people. So welcome both of you on the podcast. I'm excited to have you. You know, we're longtime friends, and you've inspired me. We've, broken bread together for years. Both students of Pasquale Sarasoli. So welcome both of you.
Thank you so much.
You're on how many mission trips right now?
I just finished my 133rd, last week.
133 mission trips, and they've been a lot in Haiti and the Dominican, right? Have you done them outside of there?
I have. I've done mission trips in Cuba, did mission trips in the Bahamas, I did mission trips in Trinidad, Tobago, Jamaica. Mm-hmm. So pretty much the Caribbean.
And you've been putting on some seminars. We met up in Cuba just last year.
In Cuba.
That was awesome.
Did seminars in Italy.
The Italy one, I really wish I would have gotten to.
You might go next year.
Yeah. Well, you tell me, what inspired you? Let's bring that a little closer. What inspired you? What brought this on 133 mission trips ago?
Okay. Well, at one time in my career, I became executive council, executive board of the New York Chiropractic Council. I became the vice president, the president, and then in 2001, our Twin Towers went down.
Yeah. And
basically, being on the executive board at that time, we mobilized people from all over the country.
Yeah.
Within one day, people's licenses were able to be used because they wanted to come to ground zero. As the buildings were falling down, chiropractors were going to ground zero.
Yep.
And we were basically there for 9 months. My job as an administrator was to say, okay, you're going to be in this location. We had 5 respite centers, 5 different churches, and we served for 9 months, 24 hours a day.
That's incredible.
Chiropractors from all over the country, coming down to help. 9 months after that, me and my friend Todd Harold, we went with our wives to a Dominican Republic just to go on vacation. It was a golf course. We're playing golf. We brought our chiropractic tables. One of the hotel workers, that's the reason we brought our tables, just to adjust the hotel workers. One said to me, "Can you adjust my mom? She's really sick," which is a divine appointment, right? So we went there. I thought it was a mile away. I thought I was going to do a house call, but it was all shacks, mud, no electricity, some of them no running water. And we adjusted the mom, and all these people came out of their shacks to watch us doing it, and then they wanted someone providing. And I said, this got to be a mission trip, and that's how we started.
That's beautiful. And I met my wife, Roberta, on a mission trip. We saw 40,000 people while we were there, okay? And she was helping translate, and, bada bing, a year later, we're married.
Right?
In Brazil, in Fortaleza, Brazil. And, God just put everything in the right order, and she ended up in a program in the United States, and I couldn't let her go. But, there's so much energy in that, and so much change. It's just a ripple out through the universe when you're serving at that level. And so what have you seen, with the people that you've been, serving, and then what about students and docs that come and visit you down there? Have you seen them transform?
Yes, everybody that comes on these mission trips, they come to serve.
Yeah.
They come to give, because we're a country that's a rich country, and we're going to the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, Haiti, and we're in the Dominican Republic, but right on the border. It's a very poor area, and all the people that come to give, it ends up happening, they get more than what they gave, because it's a mission of love. We're these people are so remarkable. They're so unbelievable, thankful for what we do.
That's fantastic. How about share a story? What if something you've seen miraculous happen?
Well, if you don't mind, before I get into that miraculous story, I just want to say, over the years of doing this mission work, we encountered a new endeavor, because we had a lot of students of chiropractic and doctors of chiropractic coming on this trip. Thousands. I've taken over 7,000 people. And one of the things that we started to see is a lot of people are interested in taking care of babies because they've never had an experience with babies.
Yeah.
So Dr. Henri came down on a trip 50 trips ago, and he's come on 50 straight trips.
Yeah.
But when we first met, he's always been fascinated by chiropractic pediatrics. Mm-hmm. So we started going to this place called Mama Baby Haiti.
Okay.
And the purpose of us going there is they asked us to come there, but we wanted to adjust the newborns, okay? And we wanted to be able to take care of the pregnant women.
Yeah.
So, so basically what happened since then, we decided that we looked at our profession, and then we didn't know this beforehand. Henry had a big background in, from Larry Webster, taking Larry Webster's courses personally with Larry in pediatrics. He's got a big background in that. So we started saying, the profession really needs us. Now we have the access. We're bringing in 300 babies a day.
Wow.
So we have the access to babies. So we started a program where we're providing education, pediatric chiropractic education, and we have access to public schools, we have access to daycare centers, we have access to children because we have our own birthing center.
That's incredible.
So we have we have access to babies just born.
Yeah.
Henry's taught classes with babies 2 days old, 8 days old, 10 days old, 12 days old, all the way, every month you can imagine. So,
sure.
So if you have some questions about the pediatrics, turn it over to Dr. Henry.
Well, that has been a passion of mine. You give him the microphone, and that is a passion of mine. I teach a newborn adjusting seminar and birth trauma seminar, and it takes a lot of work to come out here, right? For every mom, for moms and babies, and the stress on dad. And so, what brought your passion into taking care of families and babies and mommies?
Most of the chiropractors at my time, I graduated Palmer in '88. You got very little, even classroom training.
Right.
My first exposure to taking care of babies, at least with any level of training, was at the DE seminars. They used to have the breakout rooms, and Larry Webster was one of the instructors there, along with other really great instructors in other techniques and fields. I also did a little bit of training. Stu and Teresa Warner have also been very big in the chiropractic pediatric world a long time ago. Then, like most of us, people come in with their babies and their families, and some people pick it up easier than others. I mean, some people really, they don't know how great it is to work with babies until they're immersed in it. Peter and I get told this all the time by people who wind up doing our pediatric boot camps who said, I never really thought much about doing this, and now it's what I want to do. But we recognized that while there are a lot of great trainings in chiropractic pediatrics, that it's classroom training. And we were able, Peter and I, through the work that he started 15 years ago, that I've been working with him for about half that time. A really big component missing in people being chiropractic pediatric experts is actually having hands-on training and doing that. So it has really become a passion of us to raise the bar in competence in chiropractic pediatrics through clinical excellence. And we have a few different programs, but the main one that we're doing now, because it really allows for anybody that's in practice as a DC to do it, is you only have to give up 4 days. If you fly down on a Sunday, we can get you back on a Thursday. You can be back in your office on Friday. The thing is that you'll do 6 4-hour adjusting shifts. That's not sitting in the classroom with a doll in front of a slide projector. That's 4 hours at either an elementary school, a pre-K, or at our community outreach. One of our previous programs where we only had two doctors that were training in chiropractic pediatrics, saw 352 visits. That's 171 chiropractic pediatric visits, checking and adjusting babies, and some of them were days old. Most of the children are toddlers or under 5. There's no replacement for this. Peter and I like to kind of equate it to hitting a baseball. You could take a 3-hour course in hitting a baseball, watch videos of Babe Ruth and Ted Williams and Barry Bonds and whoever the greats you want to say are. But if you've never done it before and we hand you a bat and a helmet, good luck going out there against even a high school pitcher and hitting the ball. It's the same thing. People have great classroom training, and then some of them, we've actually had testimonials to us from people on our program saying, I've taken 100 hours of a pediatric certification, and I've been terrified to even check my own children, and then they spend a few hours actually doing it with us. It's a huge game changer.
Yeah. And, we've gotten the same type of thing, is that now I have my child. I didn't know what to do when we had our baby, and the doctor was afraid to do their newborn's adjustment because they haven't had any clinical time or actual hands-on. And that's a tough one. And, like I say, I teach a pediatric course as well. We have to do it on each other. Right? There is a difference in feeling that newborn spine. It's a whole other world that hasn't experienced life yet or held in any stress and gone through maybe even a difficult birth. So that's amazing work you guys are doing. Thank you very much. The world deserves it. Babies deserve it. My motto really is a better world begins with well-adjusted babies. So tell me about some of this work now. You have a birthing center, orphanage, is that right? Why don't you just explain a little bit of that to us? Here, take this.
How the orphanage started, just to the historical, is that I happened to be doing a mission trip in Haiti in 2010. Okay. Our mission trip ended on January 10, 2010. I left on January 11, 2010, and on January 12th, the second worst earthquake in man's history happened. Less than 24 hours after we left, and God was speaking to me. I had to go back. I returned back within 3 days. We had 20 chiropractors and 7 Christian missionaries return within 6 days. My friend Brad Roush raised $50,000 from his synagogue, and a patient of mine was famous in Haiti, had a big piece of property. The Lions Club gave us 50 big tents, and literally there was children that became homeless and orphans in 45 seconds of the earthquake, and we took in over 1,000 children. Wow. I did 10 mission trips each year that year in 2010, 11, and 12, and then we moved everything to the Dominican Republic border. And eventually now we're just in the Dominican Republic, we're not even in Haiti anymore. But the orphanage carried on, and then me and Henry went to a place called Mama Baby Haiti, like I was saying before, and we decided that we wanted to have a birthing center because we want the babies to be checked right after they're born. Yeah. The reason we opened a birthing center is because we wanted to be able to teach people. Henry's the teacher. We wanted to be able to teach people how to take care of babies right after they're born. Mm-hmm. Because you always teach about, and I've seen you teach about the birth trauma. Mm-hmm. So we want to check the babies. And by going to a different birthing center, they wouldn't allow us to do that. They would allow us to see the babies after a few days, but we wanted to check them right away. That's the reason we opened our own birthing center.
Let me just hold this one second. Could you imagine what the world would be like? My goal is to have every newborn checked within the first hour of delivery. The first hour of birth in the United States, all around the world. Could you imagine what that would do to the health of the world?
It's much easier taking babies in crisis than adults in crisis.
Sure. In
getting even miraculous changes that happen all the time with babies that are born with challenges. Peter and I, like I said, this whole program has been designed in that way because, yes, it would be a great thing if every baby born in the U.S. and around the world were checked and, when needed, adjusted right after they're born. At the birthing center, if we're down there, what we'll do is the baby will be born. We have midwives. As chiropractors, we're not the ones that are actually doing the deliveries. We leave that to the midwives.
Good point.
But right after the baby is born, we give the baby and the mother what's called the golden hour, which they don't do in the U.S. in hospitals. People are in a rush, whatever the reason, but the cord should not be cut right away. The baby should be bonding with the mother. Peter helped me, along with people like Gilles Lamar, Sharon Gorman, a couple other doctors I'm not thinking of right now. We wrote the guidelines and protocols at the Mission Life Birthing Center for Chiropractic Pediatrics. With us, as long as there is no immediate emergency to the baby or the mother, they get an hour together. Ideally, the baby is able to latch on to the mother and suck. That's the easiest time to fix latching defects, which can often be fixed literally in a few seconds. And Peter, we had that experience in the hospital. You want to tell them about the latching experience?
Yeah, it was amazing. We went into the hospital and there was 2 newborns, and they weren't
Twin boys.
and they weren't being able to latch onto the mom's
Yeah.
breast. So Henri went over, and he reached into with the permission of the mom. The mom asked us, and so Henri went over, and the baby opened his mouth. He went up to the roof of the mouth,
Yep.
and all of a sudden, it was like a vacuum cleaner got turned on. Whatever Henri did, right, the baby just started sucking his finger,
Yeah.
and immediately went to the mom. And well, next thing you know, she was the baby was. Second. Now the next baby was a little bit more difficult. It took a couple of hours or something. But Henri, yes, explain what exactly you did.
Well, I just want to make one point, really, is that, you're in a third world country. You don't have all the options. Getting formula or something to these babies is not going to happen. That baby may not survive if it is unable to nurse. Period.
That's correct.
Yeah.
These were twin boys that were born the day before. It was their second day. They had no interest. They weren't even trying. The mechanism, you can look at the structural mechanism. Usually it's the maxilla that's not sitting right. There's a great osteopathic pediatrician I know who's in Malaysia, Dr. Nico. He speaks about you wouldn't drive a car with square tires.
Right.
And the roof of the mouth has to be positioned properly to make that seal. There's a lot of work and study that has to do with tongue tie. I don't find that to usually be the primary thing, although it can be a factor with the pressure of the tongue coming up. But usually it's the roof of the mouth, and I teach this to doctors that come down on the program, and the babies are right there. It's very easy to learn how to check the roof of the mouth. I've also found that in some instances, I don't know what the correlation is. If the roof of the mouth doesn't take after even 2 tries, I go to the nasion and I open up between the frontal bone and the 2 nasal bones. I don't know of what the connection. The roof of the mouth, it's pretty easy to look at. Your innervation is going to be trigeminal nerve on the roof of the mouth. That's probably why with the baby that went from like no interest at all to like turning on a vacuum cleaner, probably had more to do with me just flipping. The trigeminal nerve just wasn't doing its thing for whatever reason, and that kind of clicked it on.
Well, you think just even the mechanics of the bones, they need to be able to move. There's a suture in the center of the hard palate that is meant to move. And if it's not moving well, they're not going to be able to latch or even get even that suck ability on there. Because sucking is important for all cranial motion, CSF flow. It's incredibly important. You're going to say?
But this is also where, again, you can teach these things in the classroom. People have got to get their hands on babies and actually do it. Otherwise, how can anybody have clinical competence? We had a student at a recent student boot camp, which is a mini boot camp we do for students. And she was speaking about how learning without application is useless. She had said how she had done 100 hours of another program and had no idea what to do. But basically it's one of those almost like, being thrown in the swimming pool. You're going to learn to swim and you're going to learn really fast. You got to see the skills of the students that I've trained in just a few hours. They're probably better than a lot of people who have taken a lot of other trainings. They're better simply because they've stood in the batting cages taking swings at baseballs. And in order to get good at checking and adjusting babies, there's no other way to do it. Again, in our program, if you came down on a Sunday, on a Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, you would check and adjust about 400 to 500 kids, many of them under 5, lots of them under 3 and 1, and a lot of them are babies. We can't guarantee newborns, but when there are newborns, we're right there with the newborns also. And by the way, chiropractic taking care of adults in chiropractic is way easier because the babies are changing constantly. You get a baby that's a newborn, by the time they're a month old, it's a completely different entity there. Same thing with 3 months and 1 month. Also with our teaching, while yes, the main thing is being able to palpate and know the checks, we're also running people through full neurologic exams, orthopedic exams. One of the ways I like like to put it is that right now, most people, if you said to them you were bringing your newborn to a chiropractor, their response is likely to be something like, what do you mean you're bringing your baby to a chiropractor? If we can create 500 to 1,000 of way more competent chiropractic pediatricians that are giving better examinations than the medical pediatricians, game changer for the whole profession. People start saying to their friends, what do you mean you're not bringing your baby to a chiropractor to have them checked? But we need to raise the bar in competence, and the only way to do that is through hands-on. Which is why, again, Peter and I are pushing very, very hard for people to look at this program. You can give up 3 days in your office. That's it. You fly to us on a Sunday. We're in the Dominican Republic. You fly into probably the Santiago airport is the easiest. Once you land, you don't have to do anything. We've got your room, your food, your transportation, armies of babies. Peter has been able to arrange that we have permission to be in every school in the Dominican Republic. We're now working on preschools. We were at one recently, totally crazy. We weren't able to because we didn't have the proper permission yet, but we visited them. They had 14 rooms marked either 0 to 1, 1 to 2 years, 2 to 3. And in every room would be like 15 kids. In the baby room, you walk in and there's like 2 people in there with like 15 0 to 1 year olds. I even said to Peter, and I said to one of the other doctors with us, I said, you know what? You don't even bring the babies out. We just take off our shoes and socks and get on the floor.
And that's my job as the administrator. So as
Here
the
you go, Peter.
administrator, for example, my job as the administrator was first, we had to get the proper documentation for the government of the Dominican Republic and the government of Haiti when we were in Haiti. So that meant that we had to have a nonprofit organization in the Dominican Republic, a Dominican nonprofit organization. Me and Henri, they only allow 2 Americans to be on the board. Me and Henri happen to be on the board of both of those organizations, which allows us to do this. Right now, we're pretty close to what Henri was talking about, is there's a governmental daycare centers where people have drop off their babies as young as 3 months old. Hundreds of babies at these governmental daycare centers that we're going to be having access to be able to not only go there and check and adjust them, but to teach with the babies. And also we have the ability by having our own birthing center to bring in babies that were born at ours. And here's an interesting stat. We've had 600 babies born there. We have had, you know how many C-sections we've had?
How many?
1.
Wow.
1 C-section and 600 babies. So, you know, there's something to adjusting pregnant women. There's just something to adjusting newborns. So, if, like you said, can you imagine every baby being checked?
Yeah. I mean, that's my vision of afar that Dr. Sid used to talk about. And absolutely amazing work. Where do you see 5 years and 10 years in the work you're doing?
Well, I wrote a paper called The Evolution of Chiropractic Pediatrics. And in doing that research, we basically see through all of this time in our profession, from 1895, you know, Didi was the first pediatric chiropractor only because he adjusted BJ when he was like 12, but then he adjusted BJ's son.
He talked about a lot of babies being adjusted, though, and how important it was. Didi Palmer mentioned it numerous times.
Right, right. So he was the first pediatric chiropractor. Sure. But after he left, none of the schools have been really teaching. A couple of schools had a couple of classes. BJ had, and Palmer, in the early days, they had a couple of classes. But basically, all of this time, there's only been an elective class in the chiropractic schools right now. So we need to, that's why Henri was talking about bringing this to the next level, because we need to be so proficient, like Henri was saying, that why aren't you bringing your baby to a chiropractor?
Yeah.
Are you something wrong?
Yeah.
You know, because what we do is amazing. Not only the examinations that chiropractors can perform on the babies, from primitive reflexes to everything else, but adjusting. No other profession does this.
By far.
And so if we want to be clinical excellent in this, so that we can teach the world. And then one day we will have this. So where do we want to be in 5 or 10 years from now? We want to see a lot of people being able to be proficient in chiropractic pediatrics.
And it's education. And it's, the mom wants to bring the baby in, but the dad says, what? I went to a chiropractor and he hurt me. Something ridiculous like that. And probably, he's got a preconceived notion. Until that becomes the commonplace of properly adjusted, subluxation cleared newborns, infants, toddlers, extremely important. But, we have to educate, and that's what we do in our office. We see a lot of babies, but, that's where I've gotten my clinical experience, thousands and thousands of babies. I get it. The parents are the ones we have to break through that hard shell of misconception. Henry, were you going to say something?
The parent, again, it's always, and every parent should have the right to decide whether their child is checked and adjusted by or seen by any doctor. Medical freedom in the USA, it's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
But I was thinking earlier a little bit about, again, people are bringing their babies to chiropractors, and I will sometimes ask the chiropractor what I believe is a simple question. I'll say, you're taking care of babies? Yes. I'll say, a newborn, how many fontanelles do they have? More than half the time they don't get the answer right. How important is doing cranial work in newborns and babies? So important. It's one of the first things that I teach because, yes, the hands-on is extremely important, but observation. When you're looking at a newborn, or even if you're looking at any of your patients, you can still do this. But you need a pattern of looking at their facial bones. Frontal bone, glabella, shape of the eyes.
Folds
Are the eyebrows level? Right. Folds in the cheekbones. Do they have a bunching of the nasion here? Also, something that I discovered, because I like to read anatomy books, and a lot of people don't realize this, but it's super important. But we had a baby a couple of trips ago that had a clear-looking facial deformity, and the doctors that were down there, they brought me over to look, and I'm looking at this little girl who had a really distorted frontal bone. She had a really distorted jaw, and I happened to go to the frontal bone to do a reduction on that side, and I got a release like nothing I've ever had. Don't you know, the jaw shifted over.
I witnessed it.
Yeah.
It was like a miracle.
So the question becomes, why would pressing on the frontal bone shift the jaw? There's no joints between there. However, the connection, like a lot of people who do cranial work might get the wheels spinning, is sphenoid bone.
It's all the sphenoid.
It's always sphenoid. The sphenoid's articulating not with every bone of the skull and face, but most of them. And while the sphenoid does not articulate with the mandible, the lateral pterygoid muscles insert and then attach from the top of the mandible, the coracoid process. Where does it insert? Sphenoid bone. There's a direct connection of the mandible to everything going on with the skull. Yeah, that was a wild one when that whole face shifted like that.
I told the story, a portion of the story at New Beginnings today about my daughter. She was sunny side up, frontal bone pressed in my wife's pubic bone. And we worked on it for actually a couple of days. And then once that frontal bone, I've never heard an audible sound of a cranial bone. It was just absolute wild. And seeing her whole head, her whole body really just shift after that. Everything changed in her face, the color in her skin, everything changed. Well, gentlemen, thank you for all the hard work you have done and all the work that is coming. You are very welcome, and we're all going to save babies together. All right.
Thank you.
God bless you. Love you both. Love you both.
Thank you, brother. Great interview. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
That went really well.
I think so.
Cool.
It was great.
I like doing it like this. The Zooms are fun. They do their job, but when we have something like that, it's like organic.
It is. Yeah, it was good, and the setting was pretty nice too. We had a nice
and then the background's pretty good.
Ready when you are, CB.
Thank you.